Hello everyone, and today is May the 5th, and May the 5th is a special day for me because it was my father's birthday. Is my father's birthday. My father passed away 3 years ago, and but one of the things he loved to eat, because he spent a great deal of time in England, was sausage rolls. So today, in his memory, I'm going to make some pork sausage rolls. I haven't made beef ones or anything from any other meat, so I don't know what any other meat tastes like. So I'm just going to show you how I would make my pork sausage rolls. It's very easy. Cleanup is super easy as well. And so I thought about making these sausage rolls when I was out shopping on the weekend. So what I did was I normally pick up the package of sausage meat, but I couldn't find any. So I saw these bangers, pork bangers, which are great. They're free from, which I really love because there's no preservatives or anything like that, or antibiotics in the meat. And so what I think I'll just do is take out the casing of these sausages and then sort of make my sausage mixture. Now, today I'm going to make, let's see, one of these packets and with one of these pastry packets makes about 32 cocktail sausage rolls. So I'm going to make sort of the equivalent of one package for you. I'm actually going to make double the amount, but you don't need to see that. So we're going to start off with just this. So what we're going to do first of all is take out the casing. And I also like to have, when you're cooking, what I like to have is an empty bowl next to me so I'm not always running to the garbage. But what we're going to do is just take out the casing. So I'm going to show you one on film, and then if you need to do the rest of them on your own, or I'll do the rest of them on my own, certainly, we're going to do that. So that's as easy as that is. Stick that in there. Maybe you can put, if you have compost, you can certainly put it in the compost. And so I'll be back once I've done both packets for you. Okay, so we're back. I've got the 2 packets of sausage in here. Seems like a lot of sausage meat, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to try and use this spatula, but if I'm not successful in doing a proper mix-up, I may have to put on the latex gloves and give this a bit of a proper mix. Anyway, in here I'm going to add a half a cup of chopped onions. They're finely chopped, so if you're only making 32 cocktail sausage rolls, you'll need a quarter cup, so a very small onion. So add that. I like my sausage rolls almost to taste a bit like stuffing, to tell you the truth. So to the onions, I'm going to add a couple of leaves that I've sort of finely sliced up and ground up of sage as well. Once again, it's to whatever taste you really like. And then, of course, because it's me, I like to add a little heat. So I'm going to take this Thai chili. It's dry, so I'm just going to crumble a little bit of it in because you don't want anybody to get a big chunk of that in there, seeds and all. So probably not for children, not people that can't take a little bit of heat. But because you've got lots of sausage meat in here, and there'll be pastry, it should be fairly harmless. So this is coming along quite well. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to mix this thoroughly, and I'll be back. So I've done a good mix of this. Now, each one of these puff pastry packages, normally I buy the PC all butter puff pastry, but they didn't have any, so any good sort of brand of puff pastry will do. Normally these come sort of pre-rolled, and I hope this one is, because I haven't bought it in a while. And it is not pre-rolled, so I'm going to have to do a bit of work here. What we'll do is we'll sort of flour the counter, but because I don't really like to have a messy counter and then have all of the sort of meat products on the counter, I go back to my best friend, which is a parchment paper. What I like to do is take parchment paper and just sort of spread it along, so that it gives me a good working surface, maybe 2 pieces, and then the cleanup is super, super easy. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is, because what I'll do with this is it's cut into 2, I'm actually going to cut it further, so you'll have 4 strips essentially that you'll be rolling out. Buy the puff pastry that's already rolled, it's way easier. I'm not sure I'll buy this one again. And then just we'll lay it out. But so in order for me to sort of make sure the measurements are sort of equal so that for my sausage meat, I like to sort of just quarter and make eighths out of this, so that when I grab the sausage meat, I know that I'm not taking either too much or too less as I do it. So just sort of cut that sort of loosely with this, because you are going to have to use your hands later to empty it into the rolled puff pastry. So let me just grab a little bit of flour and I'll be back. Okay, so what we're going to do is just take a bit of flour, sprinkle it on parchment paper, pull this plastic off, put it aside, and you see it's already sort of split from tender flake, but I weren't smart enough to do the actual rolling. Here we go. So there's that, and there's that. So that's essentially what you're now going to do, is roll this out. So it's, probably this, about 8 to 10 inches long and about 3 to 4 inches wide. So I'll show you how to do one of them, and then I'll do the rest and then come back. So here we go. Grab the rolling pin. I'll grab both because I'm not sure which one is actually going to fare better, but let's put these aside for a minute. Just kind of roll the sticky part of it in the flour so it doesn't, you just need a little bit, okay. Paper is moving a little bit. Let's put one over there. And it's as easy as rolling that out like that. Actually, the parchment paper is probably a good guide to sort of say, don't exceed that. And then what I like to do is just turn it on its side. It's probably not the right way to roll if you talk to a pastry chef, but I'm not a pastry chef, so here you go. I'm just doing what kind of works for me here. And you do what works for you. Okay, almost there. All right, and maybe just a little bit more wide so we've got the nice amount. And that's it. So it'll take you a couple of minutes just to roll this out. Have it fairly even, not too thick, about, I don't even know what the measurement of that is, but really quite thin. Like perhaps a slice of a nice thin cucumber. So I'm going to do the rest of them and I'll be back. Okay, and I'm back. So I've rolled all 4 out. They're generally even. If they're not, that's fine. You can sort of pull them together when you actually put the sausage meat in. So I'm going to show you how to do one of them, and then I'll do the rest of them and then come back when we're ready to put them in the oven. One thing I forgot is now's the time for you to put the oven on and preheat it to about 390, because these things are going to be in the oven for about 30 minutes. Cooked to make sure that they're sort of done both at the bottom and the top, and you're going to put these on a medium height rack in the oven. So 390, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, and the oven is preheating now. So I'm just going to take one little segment here, and I'm going to have to excuse the fingers. I've constantly washed my hands here, so not to worry. And all you're doing is just sort of laying this out sort of fairly evenly across, because you don't want any big clumps of meat that don't cook. But this looks pretty good right now in terms of its evenness. Okay, and let me just go and quickly wash my hands and I will be back. Let's put a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. Now, depending on the type of sausage meat you get, sometimes if it's flavored, it may already have some salt in there. So I don't like to add too much. And then a bit of pepper. Once again, remember there's a chili in there, so not too much pepper either. Then what we're going to do is just wet the pastry on both sides, like this. And this is just plain water. And this is just going to allow for the pastry to adhere. And all you're going to do now is fold that over that and fold it this way. Now you can get really fancy with the designs. I'm kind of more rustic, so I just kind of just like to pinch it in like that, just so that the pastry doesn't completely sort of flake out on you, so to speak. And that's it. That's all I do to it. And then what we're going to do is add an egg wash on top, so you have a nice shine to it, plus it'll sort of start binding the edges as well. So what I have in here is 1 egg. Now some people do an egg wash with just the yolk, some people do it with the whole egg like me here. I'm just doing it with the whole egg. So let's just grab that. And all we're doing is just brushing it very lightly, nothing fancy. And see, this is where the parchment paper really helps, so you don't have this gooey stuff on your counter. Okay, and then once I've done the rest of them, I'm going to slice this into 8 pieces and transfer them over into the baking tray, and I'll come back and show you how to do that. Okay, and we're back. So I've done all 4 of them. And all I'm going to do now is sort of cut them into 8 and then transfer them in 4 neat little rows on the baking tray. So let me start probably with this side. Now you can, if you prefer to have them larger, you can certainly do that. I like to have them small because they also cook a little faster, because then they're exposed. And this is how I like to do my little setup, so I can get it all evenly placed onto the tray. So just like this. It's a little messy, but that's not so bad. Right, just space them out because they will puff up a little bit. And then you're going to put the other 3 right there. So I'll be back once I've done that. Okay, and so I've got them all nicely laid out. So look, these are going to be what I would call naturally imperfect. They'll puff up in different ways, but that's what makes them authentic. And so don't worry about that. And some of them may come apart, and that's okay too. You know what? Eat those first and leave the nice ones if you're serving this at a cocktail party. Leave the nice ones for the guests that will be coming. But look, this is the benefit of actually doing the parchment paper. This is how wonderful the cleanup is, and even when you're cutting your sausage rolls, there's no marks left on the table. So cleanup is a real breeze for you. So I'm going to wash my hands and then put these in the oven for about 30 minutes, middle rack at 390, and then I'm going to carry on with the next batch, and we'll see what happens when they come out of the oven. Okay, so it's been about half an hour, and I just really take a look at the color of the sausage rolls. Sometimes what you have to do is just turn the tray around on your rack in the oven if one part of your oven is warmer than the other. So just every 10 minutes, just take a look into the oven to see how they're browning, etc. So good news is that nothing exploded, which is awesome. And so what I like to do is transfer them, maybe I should transfer them to a baking a cooling rack first, and with my little asbestos fingers I'm just going to transfer them. See, the bottom is nice and lightly browned color, and that's what you really want, so you know that the pastry sort of cooked all the way through. Ooh, hot, hot. So just, but they should be nice and light, not sort of heavy, and which sort of would give you a bit of an indication, in my opinion, that it's perhaps not cooked. See, nicely done. And then what you want to do is crack one open and have a bite. Make sure it tastes okay before you serve it to your guests, as I normally ask you to do. Once again, cleanup is a cinch. Look at the tray. This parchment stuff is like amazing. Probably the best thing since sliced bread. So let's get rid of that over here for a minute. And then what I like to do, even after they've cooled, because there is a high degree of either butter or shortening in your puff pastry, I like to sort of plate them on a sort of just nothing fancy, nothing complicated, just a plate with some paper towel. So some of the paper towel actually absorbs the fat from the pastry, and so you just I'll do a little plating once they're cool, and then I'll be back. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes and I've taken them from the cooling rack and I've just plated them for you. See how, presentation's pretty good. And of course, there's always a little extra. So what I like to do is take those 2 top ones and eat them for myself. So, and if you're from England like me, you like to sometimes have a bit of brown sauce with that, or HP sauce. So let's just use that. But let's taste it first without any condiments. Delicious, and they taste like Christmas stuffing. So let's have a little dip. Now, sausage rolls can be, eaten hot, warm, or cold. Pretty much, they're good any time of the day or evening or nighttime. Now, these, you can put them in the fridge and they'll store for a few days, but normally in our house, nothing really lasts that long, especially sausage rolls for storage for 3 or 4 days. So the whole process, especially if you buy the rolled pastry, should take you no more than about 45 minutes from start to finish. And if you don't add the onion and you just use the sausage meat, it'll take you perhaps a couple of minutes less. So enjoy, and here's to my dad.